There we go. Morning, y'all. Joe again with stories from the patrol car. It's where I go ahead and talk about events in my life that relate around vehicles. Car guys, car people tend to go ahead and relate events in their lives to the vehicles they had at the time. Today I'm going to kind of discuss motorcycles a little bit and touch back with Border Patrol one more time. I grew up in central Arizona, just north of Phoenix, the town of Cave Creek. Growing up out there in the 80s was wonderful. Wide open spaces, trails to go out and explore. Before I had motorcycles, I'd go ahead and take my bicycle out, and I'd basically pedal my way around the Jeep trails. This is long before mountain bikes. I took my 10-speed and basically was the pioneer for mountain biking, I guess. Been a lot of forks doing that. So my first bike that I had, my first motorcycle I bought myself was a 1971 CT1 Enduro. Enduro bikes, or what they call dual sports now, that's pretty much what you needed in that part of Arizona. That was the mode of transportation. Some of my stuff at one point wasn't legal to be ridden, wasn't tagged, or I wasn't licensed. It took a while for me to get my driver's license just because Dad wouldn't allow it, and rightfully so. I mean, I was a screw up. So, with that being said, I would go ahead and ride the motorcycle around Cave Creek, and if it looked like the sheriff's office might be looking to go ahead and stop me, I'd duck into a sand wash, which is like a dry riverbed, and shoot up the sand wash to the next street or wherever it was I was headed to, because an enduro bike will run through a sand wash just fine where a Chevrolet Caprice won't. Now, technically, their lights weren't on, so they weren't pursuing me. No lights, no siren, no pursuit. It is what it is. But that's kind of how I got around things just a little bit. The Yamaha was a great bike. That 175, I put a ton of miles on that bike for a while. Just ripped it all around. 175cc two-stroke, just a fun machine. And so I went ahead, got that one cleaned up, got it running right, and then I traded it off on a brand new XT, excuse me one more time, Yamaha XT200 as an 82 model, and that was a fun bike to ride. I mean, yeah, for 200cc, but I didn't have to worry about pre-mixing oil because it's a 4-stroke. I put a White Brothers pipe on it, put a Super Trap exhaust on it. It was loud and obnoxious, but shoot, I rode that thing everywhere. I rode it to Payson, I rode it to Flagstaff, I rode it on the interstate, I rode trails. It was nothing for me to go ahead and disappear for half the day. We were maybe a stone's throw from the Tonto National Forest, and so I could go ahead and take off on a forest road or a Jeep trail. Had no idea where I was going. Wasn't taking maps. I didn't have a backpack with me. I didn't have water. I didn't have any supplies. All I had was my wallet and the gas in the tank. And I would go disappear. My folks really didn't have an issue with it. Nobody was overly concerned. It didn't matter if it was middle of winter, dead of summer. I rode. And, like Forrest Gump, I ran. Well, I rode everywhere, and I love the daylights out of it. I rode with the wisdom of an 18-year-old. Fearless, didn't have a care in the world. I'd go out and disappear in the desert, like I said, for hours on end, and you could pretty much ride anywhere in that part of Arizona at that time. The desert gaps between Phoenix and Scottsdale and Cave Creek, huge miles and miles of deserts that undeveloped, and nobody cared. I mean, you just pick a trail and go. That's just the way things rolled out there. And so when I got stationed in Southern California, I really wasn't aware of the concept that you can't ride on public land. The thought never crossed my mind. By the time I went ahead got to El Toro, I had read the daylights out of the XT200. My senior year in high school, I bought a Honda 1985 XL 350R. It was the baby thumper bike, as they called the big bore single cylinder big bores. And so I rode the wheels off of that bike. I mean, like I said, it was my senior year I bought that bike. It was brand new. Last year they offered that model in the United States, and it was a wonderful motorcycle. I absolutely love that bike. And so I took it with me when I went to A School in Mississippi. I took it with me when I went to El Toro. And I had a cousin, while I was living in El Toro, my grandmother, I'm sorry, not my cousin. My grandmother, two aunts, and an uncle all lived in Riverside within stone's throw of each other. And so, Riverside to El Toro was like 40 miles. It wasn't that big a deal. If you caught it in rush hour traffic, you were in hell. At this point in time, they had legalized lane splitting in California. And so I figured, well, I'll try my hand at this. I beats getting stuck in rush hour traffic, which seemed like it was all the time out there. And so one afternoon I was going to take the XL up to Riverside. And you could go ahead and lane split in the fast lane between the fast lane and the next lane inside, as long as traffic was doing less than 45 miles an hour. And you could go up to basically 15 miles an hour over what traffic flow was doing. Lane splitting's great if you're on like a cruiser bike or maybe a cruiser bike. Basically for a crotch rocket, it's handy. When you're riding an enduro bike with handlebars out past your shoulders, number one, people didn't like lane splitting anyway, or at least they hadn't got used to that concept yet. But those wide bars, it became some scary stuff really quick, and people would go ahead and crowd you. It was horrible. I did it one time and decided it was absolutely not for me. But I got out to Riverside, and my uncle wasn't home at that point in time. So I decided, well, hey, I remember seeing this dirt road down the way here off this neighborhood of a cul-de-sac. I'm going to go check out that dirt road, see where it goes, like I used to do in Arizona. And so I go ahead and pop off on this dirt road. I'm not riding fast. I'm not riding hard. It's not like I wasn't the kind of riding I did out in Arizona. I mean, this was just a casual, I don't know where I'm going. Let's see where this goes. I'm going to go poke around. Well, the Riverside County Sheriff's Department at that point in time had a helicopter. And they didn't necessarily pull me over, but at the same point, they made it very clear that I was someplace that apparently I was not allowed to be. They went ahead, they got on the PA as they're hovering, and I could actually hear them over the engine of the motorcycle, over the noise of the helicopter with my helmet on, as they were instructing me that I was not allowed to ride there. I was breaking the law. I would be subject to arrest and the motorcycle being impounded. I need to vacate the area right then and there, which I did. Again, I didn't realize that this was an issue, but apparently in Southern California in the 80s, off-roading was bad and evil and wrong. So I went back to the road, and I ended up selling that motorcycle not too long after, because there was really no place out there for me to enjoy the bike, not like I had when I was growing up. So I sold my 350, and I regretted it. I really did, especially later years. It was a wonderful bike. I really enjoyed the snot out of that bike. But it is what it is. We go ahead and we make our decisions, and we go forward from there. I found one just like it not too many years ago, and I've got it tucked away. I've been restoring it, and I want to go ahead and get it back on the road. It's a wonderful bike. This was that single cylinder twin carb progressive, great running little machine. So anyway, that's when San Bernardino, or I'm sorry, not San Bernardino, Riverside County went ahead and stopped me with their helicopter. Which brings me to the Border Patrol. I have actually been pulled over with a helicopter. Believe it or not. It is what it is. I mean, these things happen. 1989, I go ahead, I get PCS orders, permanent change of station orders, to Marine Corps Air Station, Yuma, Arizona, from El Toro. I'm back in my desert environment. I love it. I'm at home again. Miles and miles of wide open spaces. I mean, granted, the Yuma Desert's a lot different than the desert around Cave Creek. Not so many mountains, not so many trails, but they're out there. And the Colorado River's there, and there's sand dunes. There's all sorts of places to check out that are public lands that were open to anybody to go explore. You get what they call desert rats out there. These guys get out there in their dune buggies and their Jeeps, and they go out and they go prospecting. That type of stuff. So, again, perfectly legal. It took me less than a year to decide I needed another motorcycle. And the bug bit, and it bit hard. For basically 4 years while I was at El Toro, I didn't have a motorcycle. Well, at least three of those years I didn't have a motorcycle. And I really didn't miss it because there wasn't any place to ride. But once I got back to the desert, it bit hard. And so Honda didn't offer the 350 and an enduro bike or dual sport anymore. 250 is too small. 600 or 650 was a little bit too big. I think at the time it was a 600 that was the option. And I really didn't want something big and heavy. It was fun to go ahead and toss around a lighter bike, something under 300 pounds. So one August morning, I went ahead and I went down to the Suzuki dealership, and they had a brand new DR350S. It was the street legal dual sport enduro bike. It had the mirrors, the turn signals, the gauges, and I committed to buy it. I mean, it's a 350. It's the size I wanted. It was a kickstart, no electric start. This was the type of bike that I was familiar with. This was the bike that I grew up with. And so this is the one I wanted to go ahead and buy. And I committed to it in no time. I took it out for a test drive in like 15 minutes. I was like, yeah. I mean, I'd already made up my mind before I got there, but getting some seat time just sold me. So I bought that bike, and brand new, loved it. I went ahead and I took that thing out, and I played with it. Kofa Wildlife Refuge up from Yuma Proving Grounds. Lots of trails up in there. I went ahead and I took that trail riding many times. Again, just like I was used to. No provisions, no emergency rations, no equipment whatsoever other than what was mandated. Had to have my orange safety vest because, military active duty. Something happens to you, you go ahead and die. Your family doesn't go ahead and get the proceeds on your SGLI if you're not wearing your orange safety vest. So I go ahead, I'm out riding around the desert and exploring, just seeing what there is to see. And I went out from the main gate, I think it was Avenue 3E, was the one that came off the main gate, Marine Corps Air Station, Yuma. And so I go south, and I go as far out as I can go. I knew it turned into a dirt road because our rifle range was down there, but I knew that the road went beyond the entrance to the rifle range. And the further you went, the more deteriorated the road became, which is my kind of riding. So I go ahead and head as far south as I possibly can, and reaches a T intersection. At the T intersection, there's like a little 4-strand barbed wire fence. And so from a north-south road, it tees into an east-west road. And I decide, well, I'm going to go ahead and just follow this road and see where it goes. One time I went back west, and well, it takes me back towards, I think it was San Luis, on the Arizona-Mexico border. So I went and I checked out that town. And then went ahead and made my way back into and around. But, you know, basically my riding was limited by the available fuel. Whatever gas I had with me, that's as far as I could go. I could go out basically half the distance and then turn around and come back. I would not go ahead and ride it into the reserve because, you know, once you're in the reserve, you've got like half a gallon of fuel, and good luck getting out in the desert with that. So one afternoon I go ahead and I start riding east, you know, and the further east you went, the more austere things became. Eventually the wire fence just kind of went away. There's no more fence. And the trail starts to go away. I mean, it disappears into the sand. Every so often there's like a USGS survey head stamp set in the sand, brass and concrete, about every like quarter mile, half a mile. And it basically marked which side of the border you were on. And okay, well, you know, I went as far as I was comfortable with, and I turn around. I'm headed back towards town, head back to the base, going west, and I reach 3E. I turn back north, and you know, again, no maps out here. I'm just going ahead and riding to see what there is to see. So I turn back north on 3E, and as I'm riding along, I'm just cooking. This helicopter comes by. You know, Bell 500, he drops down, makes a low pass right by me, disappears over the crest of a hill that's up ahead of me, and okay, well, you know, that was interesting. You know, it's Border Patrol. I'm wearing my orange vest. I'm pretty obvious who I am. I'm military. And so I'm just cooking, and I'm running wide open at this point. The bike's broken. I'm having a great day. And I'm going to go ahead and launch off the top of this hill just a little bit, you know, a little bit of Dust to Glory type riding before that movie ever came out. So I go ahead and I'm 85 miles an hour across the top of the hill, front wheel up in the air. And here's this helicopter parked in the middle of the road crossways. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. I'm trying to stop this bike as hard as I can without losing control, without dumping it. I get the bike stopped, pull over to the side of the road. The helicopter pilot is facing me, gives me this, cut it off across the throat, shut the motor off. Okay, fine. So I shut the motor off, take my helmet off, and just sit there leaning against the bike. And within about 5 minutes, I've got 4 Border Patrol Broncos on me. I mean, they just come in from all corners. I was like, oh, this is bad. And the helicopter takes off, and the Border Patrol agents get out, and they start interviewing me. Who are you? Where were you riding? What were you doing? Did you see anyone? Did you stop? Did you talk to anyone? The whole routine. You know, can we search your vehicle? Sure. I didn't see anybody. I didn't talk to anybody. I stopped long enough to go ahead and check out the real estate out there. I might have taken a leak. And no, I didn't pick anything up. Feel free. I'm stationed right up the road here. And, you know, was there a problem with me riding? Well, you know, we've got motion sensors buried out there. And so, you know, the sensors go off. We got to come check it out. Oh. Guys, if it's a problem, I'll go ride somewhere else. I mean, there's plenty of desert. I'll gladly go ride somewhere if this is a problem for you guys. Oh, no. We love to practice. Really? Okay. And so, yeah, there was a couple times that I'd go ahead and just kind of screw off, you know, try and give them something to actually go ahead and chase. But that was the time that I got pulled over by a helicopter. So... Anyway, y'all have a wonderful afternoon. Stay safe. Be good to each other. You know, check out some of the other YouTube channels out there. Coastal Auto Coastal Auto Reaction. Roy Marco's Garage. Robert's Garage. It's cars and community. You know, or community, not competition. Give these little channels some support. If there's a YouTube channel you like, feel free to share it by all means. there's lots of good stuff out there, lots of good information, and it deserves to be shared. If you like what I'm doing with this, great, let me know. If you don't like it, hey, say so. You don't have to like it, that's fine. Not everybody does, and that's cool too. If you do like it, feel free, give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not. And I'm going to keep doing this for a while. Like I said, former jarhead, well, there's no such thing. No longer active duty jarhead, obviously. Got stories. I've got stories, man. So if you like it, great. If not, let me know. I'll do something else. You don't have to hear this if you don't like it. Anyway, y'all take care. Be safe. Be good to each other. We'll see you next time. It's Joe.